रेडियो नशा पर माय नेम इज रोहिणी, ये तो सब जानते हैं, लेकिन जो मेरे शो का नाम है जो है झकास मॉर्निंग, वो एक इंसान ने मुझे दिया था, अनिल कपूर।
That's great, yeah.
Thank you so much मेरे शो पर दोबारा से आने के लिए। I mean आपके शो पर।
हाँ, मेरा शो है
ये आपका शो अभी भी, आपको पता है ना?
इसका कॉपीराइट मेरे पास है इसका।
वही तो।
और पैसे कुछ नहीं मिल रहा है मुझे।
ओह, we need to sort this. अब मैं बॉस बन गई हूँ. We'll figure this out. Thank you so much मेरे शो पर आने के लिए, and Harsh, thank you so much for joining me.
Of course, anytime.
You know, कल मैं थार का ट्रेलर लॉन्च देखने आई थी, and I did not expect what I saw, simply because इतने रेगिस्तान में ऐसे one of my favorite actors, okay, उनकी बेटी श्री, और एक कमाल की स्टोरी. It looks very very gripping. लेकिन एक लाइन है आपके ट्रेलर में at the end of the show, जहाँ पर आप कहते हैं कि
पता नहीं मुझे क्यों लगता है ये पिक्चर गब्बर के बारे में नहीं है। हो सकता है ये सब कुछ ठाकुर ने किया हो, या फिर जय और वीरू, और क्या पता बसंती।
इस शोले में तो लगता है गब्बर विलन नहीं है, एंड दैट मेड मी वंडर कि व्हाट इफ, इज दिस एन ऑल्टरनेटिव एंडिंग, इज दिस अ व्हाट इफ टू शोले, हाँ या ना?
No, absolutely. I think the only thing is that, you know, Sholay was one of those stories and one of those films which became iconic, still is iconic.
जी हाँ.
People still refer to it, used. The characters have become, you know, like folklore. Every generation knows, you know, all the names like Basanti and Gabbar and Jay and Viru and I think so. You know, it's been, when you see the film, it's been used it's just very less it's been used, but used pretty well. But it adds to the, you know, it's like a kind of a metaphor.
बिल्कुल.
When you see the film, the way it has been used, and it makes the story even more intriguing.
बिल्कुल.
कौन है भाई? गब्बर भी हो सकता है, जय वीरू भी हो सकता है, ठाकुर भी हो सकता है,
कमाल.
और क्या पता
बसंती भी हो सकती है. आई वॉज लाइक दिस इज अमेजिंग. ऑल्सो ये एक बहुत ही अंडर एक्सप्लोर्ड जॉनर है. इसके बारे में ट्रेलर लॉन्च पर भी बात हुई थी हर्ष, कि ये द वेस्टर्न इटसेल्फ, एंड कमाल की बात है बिकॉज एक्चुअली शोले इज अ वेस्टर्न, इज वन ऑफ आवर बिगेस्ट फिल्म्स ऑफ ऑल टाइम, राइट? क्यों लगता है कि ये जॉनर इतना अनएक्सप्लोर्ड क्यों है? इज इट बिकॉज एक्टर्स को रेगिस्तान में शूट करने में थोड़ा सा और वक्त लगता है?
No, I don't think so. I think so many people have shot films in Ladakh, and you know that's a much more difficult terrain because of the altitude and stuff. But I just think maybe the stories kind of haven't been written, you know, and I think this really kind of jumped off the page, and the beauty is really in the details, in the world building, and you know the location is a character, and it's a western, but it does feel kind of very contemporary. When you see it, you'll understand better what I'm saying, because because there's a young protagonist, you know, sometimes that kind of makes all the difference when the world is kind of a little more kind of classic and structured, but there's a kind of a younger energy with the kind of leads, you know. And Fatima and I are kind of very new and very kind of young, and but it does kind of also have like a little bit of a edginess. It's a bit subversive even within the genre
within the
genre of the western, you know. So like I really like the films of Nicholas Winding Refn, who made Drive and Only God Forgives, and I think it's got a little bit of that, but it's also kind of very Indian and stuff, so it's a nice mix.
ये कहानी बड़ी हिंदुस्तानी है, और हिंदुस्तान की है, राजस्थान की है. इसमें राजस्थानी बड़ी अच्छी तरह राजस्थान और उसके जो किरदार हैं. मैं फिल्म के अंदर एक रिटायर्ड जो होने वाला है, रिटायर्ड पुलिस ऑफिसर होने वाला है कुछ महीनों में, और मेरा जो किरदार है बहुत सालों से रह रहा है, एंड तो सारी चीज़ें बड़ी रूटेड हैं. सो इतनी रूटेड है, तो मेरे ख्याल से जब सारी जो फिल्में, इस तरह की फिल्में जब बाहर भी बनती थी, सर्जी लियोन बनाता था, या काफ़ी जैसे कि इवन टैरेंटिनो हैज़ मेड जैंगो एंड ऑल, तो अगर आप देखें उनकी कहानी बड़ी रूटेड है. जैसे कि वो जैंगो जो थी वो स्लेवरी पे थे, तो सो दैट पीपल कैन कनेक्ट एंड रिलेट टू द स्टोरी. सो दिस इज़ ऑल्सो अ स्टोरी विच इज़ set in the 80s and during that time, so there is a certain connection, and hum because we are students of cinema, and you know, we had seen these kind of films earlier, these great westerns like Paint Your wagon, and there's so many filmmakers who had made such great entertaining films which had that kind of genre. And उसके बाद हमने हिंदुस्तान में कोटे सिक्के, शोले, ये सब फिल्में बनी थी. And फिर and then उसके बाद कुछ serious फिल्में बनी. But there was never a film which had that mystery, entertainment, love, violence, sex, and
Anil Kapoor. And Anil Kapoor.
I think the most important thing last बोला.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
मैंने जब शॉर्ट्स देखे इस रेगिस्तान के, मैं तो आपकी एक दूसरी फिल्म की बहुत बड़ी फैन हूँ. इनफैक्ट सबसे बड़ी फैन मैं हूँ लम्हे की. तो मैंने देखा कि
वही राजस्थान में शूटिंग की थी हमने.
इसीलिए तो
उसकी भी मैंने शूटिंग की जैसलमेर में, और जयपुर में भी शूटिंग की थी रामबाग पैलेस में. जैसलमेर में बड़ी उसके काफ़ी अच्छे सीन्स थे मेरे. और आई रिमेंबर मेरे ख्याल से जब मैं राजस्थान में लम्हे की शूटिंग करने गया तो मेरे ख्याल से गर्मियों में गया था मैं शायद, इफ़ आई एम नॉट मिस्टेकन. रात को बड़ी ठंड होती थी, इतनी ज़्यादा भी गर्मी नहीं थी. मगर अब मैं जैसलमेर में शूटिंग की है मैंने अभी कुछ 20 दिन पहले. सो आई वाज शॉट इन 47 डिग्रीज. बट थार की जो हमने शूटिंग की है वो हमने की है जनवरी, दिसंबर एंड जनवरी और फरवरी में. एंड देयर वर टाइम्स व्हेन इट वाज रियली कोल्ड ओवर देयर. बट विंटर में राजस्थान इज समथिंग एल्स. You'll forget Arizona, you'll forget when you think about Rajasthan, you think about, drab and boring and deserts and all. It is beautiful. It's sexy.
Oh, wow.
There's actually
Rajasthan, is sexy.
Nice.
It's got that, you just want to live there forever and ever, and it's so beautiful. The mountains and everything about it is so beautiful, absolutely. And this culture, there is these old, like we shot in this village which is about 600-700 years old. I'm not talking about the palaces. Palaces हम Indians के लिए we are used to, because for foreigners it's fine.
हम खुद टूरिस्ट बन के जाते हैं.
बट इसमें वो उससे ज़्यादा चीज़ें हैं जो आपने कभी नहीं देखी है. जो हमारे डायरेक्टर हैं वो राजस्थान के, उन्होंने भी हमें इस फिल्म में ऐसी जगहों पे हमें ले गए हैं इस फिल्म की शूटिंग के दौरान. आई वाज आल्सो सरप्राइज्ड. देयर वाज नो लोकेशन फ्रॉम द प्लेस वी वर स्टेइंग व्हिच वाज लेस देन an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And tough terrain.
I love this. What have you come to a consensus between the two of you all, especially जब आप screen space share कर रहे हैं? Student, teacher, friends, director, actor, producer, क्या roles होते हैं दोनों के बीच में?
I think actors for the director, who is Raj, in this particular film, and actors in the past for Vikram Montwani, who directed us in our last film. So it's a director's medium. I think in India we sometimes forget that and kind of make it more about who is the star. But the films that I've done are not star-driven films. They're director-driven films, which is I believe the way that film should be made. So yeah, just trying to do our best to make sure that the director is really happy and comfortable with what he's getting.
How proud are you of Varrdhan? I'm telling you because I'm really proud of him. Please हमें बताइए.
See, actually, obviously, of course, he's work in progress. I'm work in progress, but he's definitely much more work in progress. He's just started his career. He's very, done very few films, and to be honest with you, the more work you do, the more you learn, and the more you grow, and the more filmmakers you work with, you learn from the filmmakers, more stories and all. And it's I think it's too early for me to say, or anybody to. He's still, but definitely I admire his choices. Very gutsy and he's very brave. Like for example, I was telling yesterday also, अगर मुझे कोई AK versus AK ऑफर करता और कहता कि देख यार तेरा फादर है फिल्म में, अगर तू ये छोटा सा कैमियो करेगा क्या, मेरा फादर हो या ग्रैंडफादर हो, मैं तो नहीं करूँगा. It's too risky to do such a small cameo. Like I remember, there are certain, I can't because I have a confidential contract clause. There are certain huge, monumental, the biggest franchises of Hollywood which have offered me cameos in their films. The bigger than the biggest, I can say. But I have said no to them. I said, what if I reach there And it's like even a Sachin Tendulkar goes on the crease sometimes, and he might just be out in the first ball, or and the umpire would say LBW, or he hits the wicket. So I have just 2 scenes, and I've just got 1 day or 2 to prove myself, and I'm not feeling well. I'm not up to it. Something goes wrong. My co-star is not correct. I'll just expose myself, and people will have a wrong impression about me that he couldn't do it. So when you're a leading man, and when you have a very lengthy and you've got many more days to prove yourself, you're much more secure. But when you're doing a small cameo on that given day, you have to give your best, and it's too risky.
Wow.
I won't take that risk, and he took that risk, and I didn't ask him to do it, to do this film, to do this cameo, but he just did it because he believed in that small cameo. And I admire that guts, being brave. I wouldn't have done Ray. Why should I do? It's an anthology. There are 4 directors. There are such senior actors like Manoj Vajpayee and Ali, and who've done so many films, so much of work. And here you are, someone's son, and you're doing 1 hour 45, 1 hour 1 hour Ray. I won't do it. I'll not do it. I'll get scared to do it. And I think all the actors from my generation would have never done it. I'm being very honest with you. But he did it. I said, कर क्या रहा है यार ये? और ऐसा भी नहीं है कि ये
roast of Harsh.
No, I'm just saying, and these are, and they are filmmakers who are, of course, not the so-called big mainstream successful. They're successful in their own genre of making films. They're respected by all the but the trade, they still have to make a big name for themselves. And then he goes and does their films, and does with total commitment, puri shiddat se kaam karta hai, and he comes out with flying colors. So that's gutsy, that's brave, and that makes me feel happy. But I wouldn't do it. I'm being very honest with you. None of my contemporaries would do it. I can vouch for it. You can ask them, they'll not do it.
Yeah. Wow. So that's a compliment. A long one, but nonetheless, it's a compliment for you.
Yeah.
हाँ, तो मुझे बताओ, I actually have to respond to that in the best way possible. जब आपने कहा कि ये franchises आपको offer कर रहे हैं super hero films, let me remind everybody in America, our homegrown original superhero was always Mr. India. So आप लोग late हो, है ना? High five. That's the point.
Thank you.
Harsh, I want to ask you कि ये जो it is Anil Kapoor at the end of the day, okay? And when you're sharing scenes with him, a little more this time, right? At least, AK versus AK के मुकाबले. As an actor, तुम्हें क्या लगता है इनकी सबसे best quality क्या है? As an actor for yourself, when you're sharing a scene.
Just, I think, a lot of preparation, dedication, honesty. Honesty is so important, right? Because I think as one ages, maybe gets older, has more experience, you tend to kind of start being a little less honest, maybe start fabricating things too.
Or you're just too used to it, right?
Yeah,
उनको पता है ना
it's
कैसे
like repetition,
करते हैं.
right? I guess so I think in that's why people say, right, when you're kind of new, you're raw, but if you have the right filmmaker to be able to use that rawness, it's very special, it's very memorable. Like you look at Martin Sheen in his early films like Badlands and stuff, he's just, you can't take your eyes off him. Obviously doesn't have the control over the craft that I'm sure he had later, maybe in Apocalypse Now and stuff, but just that's so you can't, that not trained almost, it's like it's a really beautiful thing. So some of the best directors work with non-actors, they work with just people that suit the roles. But so for to be able to kind of keep rediscovering and reinventing and still making things feel kind of new and not dated, like not like you have a set way of doing things. So I think that's what I would like to try and.
Yes, and this interview.
The interview is fantastic.
Oh,
and you are terrific.
Thank you.
बहुत कम मेरा बेटा तारीफ करता है किसी की. And he said, you'll enjoy this interview.
Absolutely.
And so as soon as I entered, so he had a lot of good things to say about you.
Wow, that's so
and that made me feel happy. and he's right. And whenever I've done interviews, now I'll see you in a different light.
Thank you so much. Student of cinema, number one, friend, but fan first. So thank you so much मेरे show पर आने के लिए.
Thank you.
And I really wish you luck with Thar. I'll bring it to the audiences with all my love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Radio Nasha.